That's it. I've had it with this dump. We got no food. We got no jobs. Our pets' heads are falling off.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and today I'm going to talk about the Uncanny X-Men Winter's End. Normally I would break the book down and score it by art, characterization, and plot before giving a final overall score. I honestly don't have the patience to do that with this book, and I have a lot to get through that won't work with that format. So I will say up front, the art is serviceable, and the framework for a good story is here, but it's completely derailed by Sina Grace's character work and absolute cringe-inducing dialogue. I don't recommend this book to anyone that doesn't already enjoy Grace's Iceman series, which judging by the sales should be a handful of people worldwide. When Uncanny X-Men relaunched recently, it was with 3 writers, Ed Brisson, Matthew Rosenberg, and Kelly Thompson. That was already 2 writers too many, and now we can add Sina Grace to the list of creators who have no business writing on this series. Really, Ed Brisson's the only one that's shown any competence writing in the X-Men universe, and unfortunately Rosenberg is now the primary writer on the Uncanny X-Men series, and it's just watering down the brand overall and devaluing it for Marvel Comics. I could talk about that for a long time, but let's just get to the book. Early on, Iceman is saving people trapped by a flood in Delaware when someone bricks one of his ice golems and states, "You want to come here from the big city and play hero? Next you're going to move in and take our jobs, thinking some canned food was charity," before also calling Iceman a mutie as he leaves. So I wasn't even really aware that there were intolerant rednecks in Delaware, but apparently there are, and why this guy thinks that Iceman with his ice golems are here to take jobs from him and his townfolk is beyond me. This introduction actually has no bearing on the story, and is just here so Sina Grace can throw some shade at intolerant white men all over America. I honestly have no idea how this got through editorial, but I read enough Marvel Comics nowadays to know that there probably isn't any editorial on this book because it's Sina Grace, and is therefore apparently exempt from editing. Later, at the Xavier Institute, Bobby Drake receives a gift from his ex-lover Judah. I don't know, maybe Bobby's really into vintage children's books, but why a man would give his ex-lover a Dr. Seuss book is lost on me. It seems like a terrible gift. It makes Bobby and Judah seem like they're childlike doofuses. But Bobby does find a use for the book as he hears a bump, and apparently despite being a superhero that saved the Earth countless times from countless enemies, he comes charging through a door with the Dr. Seuss book claiming he's an Omega-level mutant. Why Bobby Drake needs to be portrayed as an incompetent idiot rather than a full-fledged superhero, I just don't understand. Why does Sina Grace insist on making him look stupid? This seems more like something the writer would do than the actual hero. The shit dialogue and characterization really starts to pick up the pace in this page. When Michaela, a student, tells Bobby she's leaving the school and X-Men, he immediately tells an obviously down Michaela she's not an X-Men. This is absolute garbage leadership. She's obviously going to him because she sees him as some type of leader, a mentor probably, and he shows her absolutely no compassion. He doesn't try to find out what's wrong or get to the bottom of it, he just corrects her and lets her know you're not even an X-Man. And of course Michaela's an idiot, so she speaks in text abbreviations. Is the Xavier Institute a damn school or isn't it? And then Bobby claims he was in the background, too scared to be counted on, to be seen, to matter. This is Sina Grace sticking his own words about himself in Bobby's mouth here. Bobby spent decades at the forefront of X titles. He was an X-Man, a champion, part of X-Factor, a core X-Man again, and outside of a few writers in the early to mid double aughts not using him well, he's been pretty much in the middle of the X-verse for 50 years. Bobby and Michaela are interrupted, so Michaela gives him a birthday gift. This is a birthday-themed one-shot if you didn't know. She states, "I wish it was more inventive, but this whole leaving the X-Men thing hit me in the feeling hard." Sina really goes out of his way to make Michaela sound like a brain-dead idiot. Interestingly enough, in an interview with Adventures in Poor Taste, Sina Grace said of his Iceman series, "The biggest bad of my series was apathy. Our hero never struggled with it." Might need some more work on that, because rather than comfort the young lady going through a very hard time, Bobby decides to emphasize he's a complete dickhead, void of leadership and compassion, by reminding her she's not in the X-Men for a second time, before leaving her in the dust. While Bobby's friends are waiting to celebrate his birthday, we get this doozy from one of the original X-Men, Angel. "We'd come here to get fresh with our girlfriends. Guys don't talk like that. Dudes don't talk about where they go to get fresh with their girlfriends. This sounds like it's someone that's never actually heard another man speak. Of course, Angel is a man, and Kitty is a woman, so he needs to be put in his place next. Angel says, "We always find a way to roll with the punches." To which she replies, "Don't use that word, there will be no punching." So now boxing analogies are offensive? And let's not forget, Angel was an original X-Man and part of the universe 17 years before Kitty Pryde ever showed up. How about a little respect for an OG X-Man? Then Sina Grace's least favorite characters arrive. Bobby's very understanding and loving parents, which leaves Kitty uttering, "This can't get any worse." I am so tired of Sina Grace bashing on this dude's parents, especially his father. So Bobby's visitor outside the Xavier Institute is an older version of himself called the Ice Master, and he tells him how in the future he's seduced by Daken and puts the entire galaxy at risk. How is this even possible? How many times can Daken screw over the X-Men and Bobby? Didn't he stab his boyfriend in Sina Grace's own Iceman series? Is one of Daken's superpowers having a cherry-flavored dong or something? This makes Bobby and all the X-Men who trust Daken look like absolute fools. I understand Daken is supposed to be very charming and uses his physical gifts on both men and women to get what he wants. But at this point, you're making Bobby look like some type of battered boyfriend rather than a superhero. Eric the Red and Deathbird then arrive on the Shi'ar vessel the X-Men have commandeered to aid Daken in his obvious treachery. They help him blow up their compartment with the rest of the team, including X-23 and Colossus, killing them. It's also heavily hinted that Deathbird has taken Eric and Daken both as her lovers. Daken kills Deathbird and tells Iceman, "Oh babe, you really thought the son of Wolverine was happy pivoting to Mrs. Iceman?" Ice Master then explains, having the nexus of all realities made him, speaking of Daken, a Thanos-level player in the cosmos. I absolutely call bullshit on Daken ever being able to garner that much power. But that is Ice Master's sob story. He's powerless to Daken's charms, which aided Daken in killing all of his friends. I will give the book credit. There is a 4-page battle between Iceman and his older incarnation Ice Master that's actually pretty badass. The sassy dialogue is distracting, but otherwise it's really cool. And that's the worst part. There is the framework for a proper X-verse story in here, but Grace spends way too much time writing Kardashian-style confrontations, fake redneck hate crimes, and shit dialogue than the actual story, which, while it has promise, falls under the weight of all the garbage. My favorite quote from Grace's interview with Adventures in Poor Taste is, "Oh, and yes, there's a confrontation to be had on an emotional level, but readers won't see it coming till it happens." Motherfucker, people have seen the Grand Canyon-sized hole in your Iceman story since it started. Why the hell hasn't Bobby ever confronted Jean Grey for what she did to him? She outed him without his consent and never apologized or even acknowledged what she did. We've seen this coming since the day Cena created this mountainous logic gap in his story. Never mind the fact that Bobby already had 50 years of documented history in the Marvel Universe without ever thinking about the cute boy he's talking to, feeling uncomfortable kissing women or being on a date, or wanting to tell his family or friends about his sexual orientation. He never had any of those thoughts until Jean Grey told him he was gay. But that horse has been beaten to death 1,000 times over. And guess what? Jean Grey herself was wondering why Bobby never confronted her. Readers won't see it coming till it happens, my pasty white ass. Turns out, Jean Grey has remembered outing Bobby since the day her time-displaced younger self was returned to her correct timeline. And Bobby tells her, "It needed to happen, but it didn't happen on my terms. You took my power of choice away. I wasn't ready." Bobby finally gets his apology, and we learned that when younger Bobby returned to his timeline, he was already out and fell in love with a boy and willfully sacrificed him to save the time stream. Sina Grace is creating layers upon layers of time travel paradoxes here. When Bobby went back openly gay, why would he have needed Jean Grey to ever out him in the first place? X-Men writers need to take a break from time travel. They've been overly reliant on this story trope for decades now. No X-Men character, except for Cable, should time travel for at least 2 years. Marvel creators have made so many paradoxes, it's impossible to even know what has happened or what's real at this point. And it's pretty laughable that Grace even compliments himself with a line of Jean Grey dialogue stating, "We just closed out so many time paradoxes." No you didn't, asshole. You just created more. Bobby finally arrives at his birthday party, and Simon, some rando, tells him there's nothing serious to pursue between us, but if you want, and whispers sweet nothings in his ear. Gay Bobby is such a horn dog, he leaves his friends, X-Men teammates, and worst of all his parents, for some rando birthday booty call. For someone that claims to be on the forefront of GLBTQ issues, Grace has the worst instincts to brush Bobby with the worst stereotypes imaginable. He hears a bump in the house and he shits his pants. His future self comes back to warn him about the impending doom in his timeline. It's time for sassy banter. And when it's his birthday, he'll drop his friends and his family for a booty call. Before leaving with the Ice Master, Bobby announces there's been enough exposition and gives Jean permission to read his mind. And what's he thinking about? How he's going to prevent Ice Master's timeline? How wonderful all his friends and family are to celebrate his birthday? Nope, he's got off-white Nikes on his mind. I don't understand why Bobby, just because he's gay, doesn't act or even think like he used to. Sure, sexuality is an important part of all of this, but it's not the most important thing. Bobby's been a hero for decades now, and to think about all the destruction Grace has done to the character in a mere few years is just mind-blowing. To end the book, Bobby writes an email to Judah to thank him for the very thoughtful Dr. Seuss book for his birthday, and claims he read it in one sitting. Bro, it's Dr. Seuss, not War and Peace. Not exactly a big accomplishment. He finally pinky swears to not put Judah's life in danger again if he remains his ally. So the issue ends, as it should, like a teenager with no life experience or friends would talk to their ex. There's 8 or 9 pages that could serve the framework of a quality X-Men title, but it's all wasted, so Sina can shit on white men, Bobby can be a dick to the youngsters he's supposed to be helping, the X-Men can talk and act completely out of character, everyone can shit on Bobby's parents, and Bobby can close his birthday with a random hookup. The fact that this has Uncanny X-Men on the cover takes a dump on Stan Lee, Chris Claremont, John Byrne, and everyone else who worked tooth and nail to make this title a benchmark of excellence in the industry. Don't buy this unless you really like cringe dialogue or Sina Grace is your jam for some reason. So I'm planning on getting my Bendis video out tonight, so that should be heading down the pike, or it might be out tomorrow. Also, join me and the comic aficionados on our live stream here on the channel on Saturday. We're going to talk about the current DC flops, like the Bendis hiring and the Vertigo line relaunch. We're also going to talk about Comics Alliance and its lasting legacy of destruction and failure in the industry. If you liked it, please let me know in the comments. If you hated it, please let me know that too. I really appreciate all the feedback. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.